Hello, friends. Hello. Here is your moon blog for the new moon in Leo with total solar eclipse happening on August 12th. And yes, you did hear me right with solar eclipse. We are officially in eclipse season. This new moon in Leo is a solar eclipse. And then when we have the full moon in Pisces later in the month, that is a lunar eclipse. So let's get into it, shall we? Here we go. Whoops, hold on. Let me pull up. All right, here we go. The theme of this Leo new moon with solar eclipse is lean into your cringe. This new moon in Leo, which is happening on August 12th, 2026 at 10:36 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. This new moon in Leo with total solar eclipse encourages us to lean into what we love and where our hearts lead us, regardless of how cringe it may appear to others. When I sat in meditation with the energies of this new moon, I felt heat rise up to my cheeks and my stomach clench as embarrassment washed over me. It was that particular flavor of heat that rises in your chest when you're about to do something that makes you simultaneously want to run toward it and hide under a blanket at the same time. The feeling of being seen before you feel ready. That slightly dizzy, slightly exhilarating, slightly mortifying energy of caring about something so much that you can't pretend you don't anymore. And then I received that words that are the theme for this lunation. Lean into your cringe. And I don't mean the kind of cringe where we're cringing away from something disgusting or repulsive. I mean cringe in the new vernacular way, the cringe of embarrassment, the cringe of watching others in judgment, and the cringe of being watched and perhaps even judged in return. Because the things that make us cringe are often the things we care about most deeply. The dream we haven't said out loud because they feel too big or maybe too different from others' dreams. The creative expression we keep editing into something safer. The desire to be seen, really seen, that we keep disguising as not caring what anyone thinks. Cringe is not a sign that you're doing it wrong. Cringe is a sign that you're doing something real. And this Leo new moon with solar eclipse says, who cares if it's cringy? Do it anyway. Eclipse energy, lightning in a bottle. Before we dive into the Leo energy, let's talk about my take on eclipse energy. Eclipses are like supercharged, amplified, and even accelerated lunations. They are wild portals of change that operate on a different scale than regular new or full moons because of their connection with divine alignment. According to my learnings and my experience, eclipse seasons are times when the universe gets more involved than usual, igniting changes and transformations that push us into greater alignment with our soul's plans. Eclipse seasons are times of greater awareness, reflection, and when we can manage it, acceptance and surrender. They are known for bringing strange and chaotic events, unexpected plot twists, and sudden shifts that feel disorienting in the moment and clarifying in retrospect. Things that had been hidden come to light, things that were illuminated sometimes slip into shadow. Sometimes doors open that we didn't know existed, while other times doors close that we thought would remain open. Eclipses carry a lightning in a bottle quality, concentrated, electric, irreversible. And yet, eclipse seasons are also some of the most fertile grounds for genuine epiphanies, for aligned shifts that move our lives in directions we couldn't have engineered ourselves, and for the kind of deep cellular level change that arrives not through force, but through surrender. The invitation of eclipse season is not to control what happens. It is to stay aware, stay open, and trust the intelligence of what is unfolding, even when, especially when, it looks like nothing that we had planned. The Leo Aquarius nodal access, a collective invitation. This eclipse is the second in a series following along the Leo Aquarius nodal axis, a cycle that runs from February 2026 through January 2028 and is reshaping both personal and collective values in profound ways. As I mentioned in the previous Aquarius full moon blog, the lunar nodes shifted back on July 26th. Leo is now on the South Node, the point of release of what we are being asked to let go of as a collective. And Leo in the South Node is asking us to release our mask, our performance, and our hunger for external validation. Leo in the South Node wants us to let go of the habit of showing up as a curated, audience-ready version of ourselves, rather than the real, sometimes messy, endlessly more interesting version. Aquarius is on the North Node, the point of evolution of what we're being called toward. And Aquarius in the North Node is asking us to move toward genuine collective consciousness and more humanitarian values. Aquarius in the North Node provides us with the recognition that we're all in this together, and that the most radical act of service we can offer the world is not a performance of ourselves, but the authentic truth of who we actually are. And this is the great paradox of the eclipse cycle. In releasing the need to be seen in a certain way, we become more genuinely visible. In releasing performance, we become more truly expressive. In releasing the ego's version of Leo, we access Leo's actual gift, the warm, creative, courageous, heart-led light of a being who shines not for approval, but because this is simply what they are here to do. The astrology, a Leo stellium, Lionsgate, and Mercury sextile Uranus. There's a there is a rare Leo stellium at this eclipse. Mercury and Jupiter are both traveling through Leo alongside the eclipse sun and moon, concentrating an enormous amount of celestial fire in one sign. Like Leo energy itself, this is not subtle. This is a cosmic megaphone pointed directly at everything Leo represents: self-expression, creativity, confidence, leadership, play, love, and the courage to be genuinely, unapologetically ourselves. Jupiter in Leo expands everything he touches here. He amplifies our creative impulse, our desire to be seen, our capacity for joy and generosity, and radiant self-expression. Jupiter in Leo says bigger, bolder, more. And under this eclipse, that Jupiterian invitation is not to inflate the ego, but to expand into the fullest, most authentic, most heart-led version of who we actually are. Mercury sextile Uranus is another interesting transit surrounding this eclipse and deeply aligns with the lean into your cringe theme I intuited. Mercury in Leo wants us to speak our truth. Uranus in Gemini wants us to share our truth in a way that maybe we've never shared before. Together, they give us permission to communicate our needs, our desires, our creative visions, regardless of how it lands, regardless of who it surprises, regardless of whether it makes us want to cringe a little, too. This eclipse also arrives at the very closing of the Lionsgate portal, the annual alignment between the bright star Sirius, the sun, and the earth that opens around July 28th, closes on August 12th, and peaks on August 8th with the energy of the double infinity symbol, the double abundance code. Annually, these few weeks at the end of July and start of August are especially auspicious for intention, for activation, for opening to higher frequencies of consciousness and creative possibility. This eclipse arrives at the portal's close, carrying all of that amplified Sirian energy into the new cycle that it's planting. Lean into your cringe, the heart beneath the performance. One of the main themes this eclipse will be illuminating for us is how so many of us are still performing. Collectively, culturally, we have been conditioned to present a version of ourselves that is more polished, more palatable, more audience ready than the real thing. We edit our desires and our truths before we share them. We moderate our enthusiasm so we don't seem too much. We choose safe, comfortable, creative expressions because the authentic ones feel too vulnerable, too weird, too cringe. And cringe, that hot, squirmy, self-conscious feeling, has become one of our culture's most effective tools for self-censorship. We feel it and we immediately retreat. We make ourselves smaller, safer, more acceptable. These days, we also use cringe as a way to judge others, to experience embarrassment on behalf of someone else whose behaviors we deem different, awkward, or unlike our social norms. But here's what cringe actually is. It's the feeling of caring before we have permission to care. It is desire in its most unguarded form. It is the self momentarily unedited, and the immediate instinct of the conditioned ego to slam the door back shut before anyone sees. This Leo eclipse is holding that door open. It's asking us to release being rooted in performance, ego, and the need for external validation, and to begin showing up from our true, authentic selves. Not because it'll always be comfortable, not because everyone will understand or approve, but because the alternative, a life lived in permanent self-censorship, waiting for permission that never quite comes, beholden to the opinions of strangers, is so much more costly than being a little cringe. This Leo new moon reminds us that Leo's light is not just the performer on the stage. Leo's deepest light is the child who is so absorbed in something they love that they forget and don't even care if anyone is watching. Conclusion, let your light be real. This total solar eclipse in Leo arrives at the close of Lionsgate in a sky so full of Leo fire that it practically dares you to step into the spotlight. As always, the moon isn't asking us to be perfect. She isn't asking us to be ready or to have it all figured out in the exact right way to express ourselves before we even get started. What this Leo new moon is asking of us is to be real, unabashedly, uncomfortably, vulnerably, beautifully, and perfectly real. because the old version of how we have shown is completing itself. And what is being born in the darkness of this eclipse, in the few breathtaking minutes when the sun goes dark and then returns, is something truer, something more genuinely ours, and something that doesn't need an audience approval to know it's worth expressing. May this Leo new moon with solar eclipse encourage you to acknowledge and express your heart-led dreams, desires, and actions, regardless of how cringy they may appear. With infinite love and lunar blessings, me. There you go, friends. There is your moon blog for the Leo new moon with solar eclipse. And if you are looking for a little bit of support during this eclipse season, please know that we are circling up live in my intuitive moon community for the Leo new moon, as well as the upcoming Pisces full moon, which is also a lunar eclipse. And we definitely have the ability to hold space for each other during these moon circles, to connect in with intuitive guidance and just to be really wonderful community for each other. So if you want more information, please check it out by following the Intuitive Moon community, link right there in the comment section. And I hope you all have a beautiful new moon in Leo. And I hope you go out there and just follow what brings you heart-led joy and what you feel really passionate about, regardless of how embarrassing it might seem when you first put it out there. All right. Happy new moon in Leo, friends.